Let's get real for a second. How many times have you seen someone incredibly smart, insanely talented, completely blow it? They had the degree, the resume, the IQ. But still, they couldn't lead, couldn't connect, couldn't handle pressure. And then someone else, maybe less brilliant on paper, rises to the top. Handles conflict like a pro. Stays calm under stress. Makes people feel heard. Wins trust. Builds teams. Inspires results. Why does that happen? That's the question Daniel Goleman set out to answer. And what he discovered changed everything we thought we knew about intelligence, success, and human potential. In emotional intelligence, Goleman makes a bold claim. Being smart isn't enough. In fact, raw intelligence, your IQ, only accounts for a fraction of what makes someone truly effective in life. The real advantage? Emotional intelligence. It's not about being soft. It's not about being nice all the time. It's about understanding your emotions, and other people's, so well that you can navigate life, work, relationships, leadership, conflict, and stress with clarity, calm, and power. EQ, emotional intelligence, is the difference between reacting and responding, between crumbling under pressure and rising through it, between burning bridges and building trust, between knowing a lot and actually making a difference. And the best part? Unlike IQ, EQ can be developed, trained, strengthened. It's not fixed. It's a skill set. And the more you build it, the better your life gets, across the board. In this full breakdown, we're going to explore why self-awareness is the foundation of all personal power, how to master your emotions without suppressing or denying them, what makes some people mentally tougher than others, how empathy can be your superpower in business and relationships, and how emotional intelligence can turn you into the kind of leader people trust, follow, and remember. But this isn't a checklist. This is a lens, a way to see yourself and others with more depth, more grace, and more precision. We'll walk through real-life examples, stories, and insights that make the theory hit home, and give you tools you can use immediately. Because Goleman doesn't just want you to understand emotions. He wants you to use them wisely. So if you've ever wondered why smart people struggle, if you've ever felt hijacked by your own emotions, if you've ever wanted to connect more deeply, lead more powerfully, or just feel more in control of yourself, this is the video to watch. And if you stay until the end, you'll see how emotional intelligence is not just a nice thing to have, it's a foundational part of living a successful, grounded, and meaningful life. Let's get into it. Part 1. Self-awareness. Know yourself, own your life. If emotional intelligence is the key to real success, then self-awareness is the door you walk through first. It sounds obvious. Know yourself. Everyone says it. But Goleman takes it to a whole different level. He shows us that most people don't actually know themselves. They just react to life based on old habits, blind spots, and patterns they've never taken the time to understand. Self-awareness is more than noticing that you're mad, anxious, excited, or tired. It's about understanding why. It's about recognizing the emotional signals before they take over. It's knowing the exact moment when tension begins to rise in your chest, or when your tone starts to shift, or when you're about to say something you'll regret. It's not just awareness, it's emotional precision. Goleman found that people with high self-awareness have a quiet kind of confidence. They're grounded, not because they don't feel intense emotions, but because they don't get lost in them. They can name what they're feeling, understand where it's coming from, and then choose how to respond instead of being pulled around by emotional impulse. And that ability changes everything. In business, it keeps you from making rash decisions or reacting out of ego. In relationships, it helps you communicate instead of explode or shut down. In your personal growth, it gives you the clarity to know where you're strong and where you need to grow. One of the most powerful things Goleman says is this: if you don't understand your own emotions, you'll be controlled by them. And the truth is, we all know how that feels. You say something in the heat of the moment. You make a choice based on fear, then regret it. You avoid conversations you know you need to have, but can't face the discomfort. And it's not because you're weak, it's because you're unaware. Without self-awareness, emotions run the show from behind the scenes. But with it, you become the one steering the ship. And it's not just about the bad moments. Self-awareness also means recognizing your strengths, your values, your drives. Knowing what lights you up and what drains you. What you're really aiming for, beyond what you've been told to want. People with high self-awareness don't just react better. They live better. Because they're not pretending. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're not lost in performance. They're living in alignment with who they really are, and it shows in their clarity, their tone, and their results. And here's what's even better. Self-awareness isn't something you either have or you don't. It's something you train. Goleman suggests you start simple. Reflect on your emotional patterns. Name your feelings when they show up. Track your triggers. Ask yourself, why did I react that way? And instead of judging yourself, get curious. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's ownership. And you can't own your life if you're blind to what's going on inside you. This is why self-awareness is the first step. Because if you don't know what's happening inside, everything else will feel out of control. But once you do, everything begins to shift. Part 2, Self-Regulation. Mastering the pause between feeling and action so you've started to recognize what you feel. That's step 1. But now comes the part that separates the emotionally intelligent from everyone else. The ability to self-regulate. Self-regulation doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It means learning to feel deeply, but respond wisely. It's the art of pressing pause, of creating just enough space between the emotion and your next move so that you don't let the emotion run your life. Goleman says this, people who are in control of their feelings and impulses, that is, people who are reasonable, are able to create an environment of trust and fairness. And that trust, that calm under pressure, that's what makes someone a leader, not just a manager of tasks, but a guide for people. Because here's the truth, anyone can stay calm when things are easy. But your emotional intelligence is revealed when things go sideways. Think about the last time you were triggered. Someone said something that hit a nerve. An email came in that felt like an attack. Traffic was unbearable, or your team dropped the ball, or you just woke up feeling off. What did you do? Did you snap? Shut down? Blame? Spiral? Or did you pause, breathe, and choose a response that matched your values, not just your mood? That space, that pause, is the heart of self-regulation. And Goleman makes it clear, this isn't about being robotic or emotionally flat. It's about developing emotional agility. The ability to feel anger without becoming reactive. To feel fear without becoming paralyzed. To feel hurt without becoming defensive. People who lack self-regulation are slaves to the moment. They burn bridges, sabotage deals, create tension, lose respect. Not because they mean to, but because they never learned how to manage what they feel. On the flip side, those who master it, they lead better. They handle stress better. They inspire calm just by walking into a room. It's not that they don't feel chaos, they just don't become it. And that makes them rare. So how do you train self-regulation? Goleman suggests starting with awareness of your emotional triggers, the patterns you tend to follow when you're under pressure. Then, build in tools that help you pause. Take a breath before responding. Step away from a situation for a moment. Practice naming your emotion out loud or in writing. Ask yourself, what do I really want from this moment? And respond, not from impulse, but from intention. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. Because when you can stay grounded while others lose control, you become a stabilizer, a guide, a person people trust, because you can hold tension without letting it break you. And in a world full of emotional noise, that kind of calm is magnetic. So here's the real flex. You don't have to stop feeling. You just have to stop reacting without thinking. Because your power lives in the space between the trigger and the response. And once you own that space, nothing and no one can control you. Part 3, Motivation. The drive that doesn't quit. When most people hear the word motivation, they think of hype. Pep talks. That quick burst of energy you get after a podcast, a YouTube video, or a great quote on Instagram. But Goleman is talking about something deeper. A kind of motivation that doesn't need to be loud. That doesn't disappear when things get hard. That isn't based on applause, recognition, or rewards. He's talking about internal drive, the emotional force that pushes you to do the hard thing even when no one's watching. The kind of motivation that's built on purpose, not just passion. People with high emotional intelligence are deeply motivated, but not in the shallow, hustle culture sense. They're driven by meaning. They care about growth. They set high standards for themselves. And they're fueled by a desire to get better, not just to get approval. That's what makes them resilient, focused, consistent. And that's the kind of motivation that lasts. Goleman found that people with high internal motivation tend to be more productive, more committed, and more effective. Not because they work harder than everyone else, but because they work from a place of alignment. They know what matters to them. They know where they're headed. And they have emotional clarity about why it matters. This matters more than you think. Because when life gets tough, and it will, external motivation dries up fast. The likes stop coming. The praise fades. The novelty wears off. And if all your drive was based on being seen or validated, you'll quit. But if your drive is rooted in something deeper, a sense of mission, of responsibility, of vision, you'll keep going. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. And that's the secret to lasting performance. People with high EQ don't just push through with brute force. They're emotionally connected to their goals. They remember why they started. They see setbacks as part of the process, not signs that they should give up. They bounce back faster, re-engage sooner, show up again and again with clarity and intention. And they also take care of themselves, because they know that emotional energy is fuel. They don't burn out trying to prove something. They stay in the game because they're playing their game. So how do you build that kind of motivation? Goleman points to a few powerful habits. Regularly reconnect with your why, the emotional reason behind what you do. Set meaningful goals that stretch you, not just goals that impress others. Celebrate small wins, not for ego, but to reinforce your momentum. Reflect on progress, so you stay grounded in growth, not perfection. Because when motivation comes from within, you become unstoppable. Not because you never get tired, but because your purpose is stronger than your excuses. And in a world full of noise and distraction, that kind of focused energy isn't just rare, it's a superpower. Part 4. Empathy. The power of understanding others. If self-awareness is the beginning of emotional intelligence, empathy is the bridge. It's what connects your inner world to the world of others. And it's what separates great communicators, leaders, friends, and partners from the ones who just talk a lot but never truly connect. A lot of people think empathy means being emotional, or overly kind, or that it's only useful for therapists and sensitive people. But Goleman is clear. Empathy is practical power. It's the ability to tune into what someone else is feeling, without them needing to explain it. It's being able to sense the mood in a room, hear what's not being said, and respond in a way that makes people feel seen, heard, and understood. And in a world that's louder, faster, and more disconnected than ever, that ability is rare and incredibly valuable. Empathy isn't just about kindness, it's about precision. You can't lead people if you don't understand them. You can't sell to people if you don't feel what they're really struggling with. You can't build trust if you're emotionally tone-deaf. Goleman explains that empathy comes in different forms. There's cognitive empathy, understanding how someone thinks. There's emotional empathy, feeling what they feel. And there's compassionate empathy, not just feeling with someone, but being moved to help them. The most emotionally intelligent people use all three. They don't just sympathize. They understand, deeply, accurately, calmly. And that understanding is what builds loyalty, diffuses conflict, strengthens teams, heals relationships, and makes people feel safe in your presence. Because here's the truth. People don't remember what you said. They remember how they felt when they were around you. And if you can make people feel heard, truly heard, you earn a kind of influence that can't be bought or faked. But empathy isn't automatic. Especially when you're distracted, stressed, or focused on yourself. That's why Goleman emphasizes the need to get present. You can't be empathetic while thinking about your to-do list. You can't tune into others while obsessing over your own agenda. You have to slow down. Watch. Listen. Notice. Reflect. What's really going on beneath the surface here? What might this person be feeling that they're not saying? How would I feel if I were in their shoes? You don't have to agree with everyone, but you do have to understand them if you want to connect, influence, or lead them. And the beauty is, the more empathy you practice, the more intuitive it becomes. You start reading rooms better. You handle feedback with more grace. You ask better questions. You build deeper relationships, not by being fake, but by being attuned. And here's the kicker. Empathy doesn't just help others. It changes you. It makes you less reactive, more compassionate, more flexible, more human. In the end, emotional intelligence isn't just about how smart you are with your own emotions. It's about how skillfully you move through the emotional world of others. And empathy. That's the compass. Part 5. Social skills. Turning emotional intelligence into real-world power. Emotional intelligence might start inside you, but its real impact shows up between you and other people. That's where social skills come in. It's where EQ becomes something others can actually feel. Trust. Follow. And Goleman makes this clear. Social skill is not about being extroverted. It's not about being charming or talkative. It's not about networking at cocktail parties or being the loudest person in the room. It's about being able to navigate human interaction with emotional precision, so you can build relationships that are real, resilient, and results-driven. People with high emotional intelligence are social architects. They bring people together. They diffuse tension. They know how to listen actively, express themselves clearly, and move conversations forward without manipulation. They can influence without forcing. They can lead without dominating. They can disagree without disrespect. Why? Because they're aware. They read the room. They notice shifts in tone, posture, energy. They adjust not out of fear, but out of intention. They build rapport without being fake. They give feedback without crushing someone's confidence. They can have hard conversations without losing connection. And in a world where conflict is often avoided, miscommunication is everywhere, and most people are just waiting for their turn to speak. Those who master social intelligence stand out like giants. Goleman points out that people with strong social skills tend to rise in any environment. Not because they're the smartest, but because they're the most emotionally fluent. They can collaborate, influence, inspire, resolve, unite. And in leadership, that's everything. The best leaders don't control people, they connect with them. They don't bark orders, they build alignment. They don't demand loyalty, they earn it through trust, empathy, and clarity. And that all comes back to emotional skill. It's not just about getting what you want. It's about creating outcomes where everyone grows, where clarity, respect, and shared purpose drive the conversation. So how do you develop this kind of skill? Goleman recommends you start with presence. You can't connect with people you're not fully present with. Practice active listening. Ask more questions than you answer. Pay attention to emotional tone, not just words. Learn to regulate your own responses so you can hold space for others. And above all, stay curious. Because emotional intelligence doesn't mean having the perfect response. It means being available for the truth of the moment, and knowing how to meet it with clarity and care. The people who master that, they become leaders others trust, friends others rely on, partners others feel safe with. And that's the real win. Because in the end, success isn't just about what you build. It's about the relationships that carry you there. Part 6. Emotional resilience. Strength in the storm. At some point, life will hit hard. You'll face pressure, failure, heartbreak, burnout, uncertainty, maybe all at once. And when it happens, your IQ won't save you. Your technical skills won't protect you. Even your past wins won't shield you. What will? Emotional resilience. This is the quiet core of emotional intelligence, the part most people ignore until they need it. It's the ability to stay centered when everything else is falling apart. To stay grounded in your values when your emotions are screaming. To bend but not break. Goleman says emotional resilience is not about being unshakable. It's about knowing how to return to center quickly. It's about recovery, emotional bounce back. And people with high EQ do this better than anyone. Why? Because they don't fight their feelings, they understand them. They don't suppress pain, they face it, process it, and move through it. And because they've built a vocabulary around their inner world, they're not caught off guard when the storms come. They've practiced the pause. They've strengthened the gap between stimulus and response. They know how to hold discomfort without panicking. And that gives them an edge. Think about it. The people who lead best under pressure, the ones who keep their team steady during layoffs, who stay calm in high-stakes moments, who make decisions under stress without collapsing, they're not superhuman. They're emotionally skilled. They've trained for chaos. They've developed the ability to regulate their nervous system, their thoughts, their self-talk, even when everything in their environment is spinning. And that ability, that's what keeps careers from crashing. That's what keeps relationships from blowing up. That's what allows you to stay aligned with your goals, even in pain. So how do you build it? Goleman offers some essential practices. Develop mindfulness, the art of observing what you feel without immediately reacting to it. Reframe challenges, not as proof that you're failing, but as the exact conditions in which you're growing. Practice emotional hygiene. Take care of your mental and emotional state like you take care of your body. And above all, ask yourself, who do I want to be in this storm? Because storms don't just test you, they reveal you, and they shape you. People with high emotional resilience don't avoid difficulty. They meet it with presence. They're not immune to fear, they just don't let fear make their decisions. They're not free of sadness, they just don't drown in it. They're not flawless, they're flexible. And that flexibility, that's power. Because emotional resilience doesn't mean you're always okay. It means you know how to bring yourself back. Again. And again. And again. Part 7. A smarter kind of success by now. It's clear, emotional intelligence isn't soft. It's not optional. It's not just nice to have. It's essential. What Goleman shows us, through science, case studies, real-life examples, is that EQ is the foundation of real success in every area that matters. Think about it. A high IQ can help you solve equations, but EQ helps you solve problems with people. IQ might get you the job. EQ is what gets you promoted and trusted and remembered. Technical skill might win the first deal, but emotional intelligence is what keeps clients coming back. It's what keeps relationships from breaking, what keeps leaders human, what makes teams actually work, not just perform. And the deeper truth? EQ makes you better with people, but it also makes you better with yourself. You communicate more clearly. You handle pressure without losing your values. You recover from failure without losing your identity. You lead, not from ego, but from presence. Goleman's research shows that people with high EQ tend to be more fulfilled, not just more successful. They have deeper relationships, better mental health, more resilience, and more clarity about what truly matters. Because emotional intelligence is about living awake, being honest with yourself, showing up fully in your interactions, knowing how to feel without being ruled by feelings, and understanding that your emotions are not obstacles, they're information. Information about who you are, what you value, what you need to heal, where you're being called to grow. So no, this isn't just about leadership strategies or communication hacks. This is about building a life that works from the inside out. And the best part? It's trainable. You're not locked into a fixed EQ. Every time you pause before reacting, you're building it. Every time you name what you feel instead of denying it, you're building it. Every time you listen deeper, lead calmer, speak clearer, you're expanding your emotional intelligence. And the more you expand it, the more every part of your life expands with it. So yes, your intelligence matters. But your ability to work with your emotions, and with other people's, matters more. That's what Goleman came to prove. And he did. Conclusion: if there's one thing emotional intelligence leaves you with, it's this. Before you can lead others, Before you can influence, inspire, or create change, you have to lead yourself. And leading yourself means knowing how to manage your emotions, how to stay clear under pressure, how to listen when it's hard, how to speak the truth without breaking trust, how to stay aligned with your values even when you're triggered, tired, or tested. Because it's not your IQ that defines your legacy. It's how you show up when things get hard. It's how you treat people when no one's watching. It's how you carry your presence into the room, not just your resume. Daniel Goleman didn't write this book to make you smarter. He wrote it to make you wiser, more emotionally honest, more resilient, more connected, more capable of creating a life and a world that actually works. And that begins with awareness, with responsibility, with one choice at a time, to respond instead of react, to lead with empathy instead of ego, to bring calm instead of chaos. So, here's your next step. Don't just understand emotional intelligence. Practice it. Take one tool from this video: self-awareness, regulation, motivation, empathy, resilience, and apply it today. Pause when you're about to react. Name what you feel. Listen when you're tempted to speak. And ask, what does emotional intelligence look like right now? That question will change your conversations. It will change your choices. And it will absolutely change your results. If this video brought you insight, clarity, or direction, let me know in the comments. Backhand index pointing right. What's one emotional intelligence skill you're committed to developing starting today? Backhand index pointing right. What part of this breakdown hit home for you? And if you want to go deeper, get the full book using the affiliate link in the description. It supports this channel and puts one of the most important ideas of our time directly in your hands. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. Here on Compact Wisdom, we take powerful books and turn them into practical breakthroughs, one mindset shift at a time. Thanks for being here. Now go lead, calmly, wisely, fully. And remember, emotional intelligence is not what you know. It's how you live.